Mike Gallagher.
Mike, the way to look at this is that the college football selection committee is just as corrupt as the Democrat National Committee's election team.
Hey, Mike, this is Big John from Columbus, Ohio, and your opening monologue is exactly correct. I'm a Buckeye fan. I don't really even care for Florida State, but they definitely got robbed. So here's my hope. I want Texas to win this whole championship. Their 4 teams, 1 through 4, are all going to have 1 loss. And then I want Florida State to beat Georgia and be the only undefeated Power 5 team that's going to slap that committee in the face. Thanks, buddy.
Mike, every survivor of rape should insist that Jayapal be thrown out of Congress like Santos was.
Every normal American should insist that Jayapal should be thrown out of Congress. How do normal people see this evil represented in the halls of Congress? Have you heard about this? I mean, this squad, boy, I'll tell you what, they've really made a name for themselves. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and AOC and this Jayapal. This woman gave an interview, and she is obviously face a lot of heat for it. She's a Democrat from Washington State, Pramila Jayapal. And she gave an interview. I mean, there's reports now of the brutality of what Hamas did to young girls and women on October the 7th. Horrific news stories. I can't even share with too much specificity what they did. Women gang raped by Hamas terrorists. One woman beheaded with a shovel after being raped by 8 to 10 Hamas terrorists. I mean, I'm not going to give you, I don't want to shock you. I'm not trying to stun you. I don't want to upset you. You know what evil is. You know what evil sounds like. But evil comes in a lot of different ways, including a U.S. Congresswoman. This is Dana Bash from CNN sitting down with Congresswoman Jayapal. Congresswoman Jayapal. Dana Bash, to her credit, is trying to get this Congresswoman from Washington State to stick to the question about women being brutally raped, the brutalization of these young girls and women who happen to be Jewish. And listen to her chilling response comparing Hamas to Israel.
With respect, I was just asking about the women, and you turned it back to Israel. I'm asking you about Hamas. In fact,
I already answered your question, Dana. I said it's horrific, and okay. I think that rape is horrific, sexual assault is horrific. I think that it happens in war situations. Terrorist organizations like Hamas obviously are using these as tools. Mm-hmm. However, I think we have to be balanced about bringing in the outrages against Palestinians. Yeah. 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes, 3/4 of whom are
Can you imagine that? However, we have to be balanced in bringing in the outrages of Israel. So Israel wiping out Hamas in Gaza is the same as gang raping 14-year-old girls and chopping their heads off. Now, that didn't come from a terrorist. That isn't rhetoric from the Middle East. That's U.S. Congresswoman Jayapal from Washington State. We have any Washington State constituents of hers listening right now? How do you feel about that kind of garbage? And you want to kick out George Santos? You think George Santos is the problem? You got to be kidding me. I understand that guy's a screwball. But I don't think he's ever said anything as evil as that. I don't think he's ever represented anything as evil as what you just heard. Here was Vivek Ramaswamy on X, formerly Twitter, declaring that the expulsion of Republican Congressman George Santos from New York was wrong.
George Santos guy has some serious problems, and I'd live a good life if I never met the guy. Probably most of us would. But I think it's wrong that he was expelled without putting it to the voters or without running it through the court process. The judicial system determines the guilt. The guy's been indicted. Let that play itself out. Anybody since the Civil War who has been expelled, it's only been 2 people. Both of them were convicted in a court of law before their fellow congressmen got them out. As ugly as politicians are, and I think many of their behaviors are god-awful ugly, some of them downright criminal, we have a system for dealing with who serves in Congress. It's this thing we call elections in our country. We have them every 2 years for Congress. There's another one next year, just like there was one last year. So if it has to be outside of that normal democratic process, it better darn well be a court of law that's found somebody guilty.
Hey, where are all the activists in the Me Too army? Why aren't women's rights advocates enraged about the brutality of these women? Could it be because they're Jewish women who were brutalized? Could it be that Jewish lives don't matter? Are you seeing what's going on in America? In Philadelphia, a big army of pro-Hamas protesters terrorized a Jewish shop owner over the weekend. What's his crime? He's Jewish. He's got a restaurant, and he's well known. He's like an award-winning chef. And they showed up from the river to the sea. Hey, Goldie, from the river to the... Mocking this. Why? He's Jewish. That's in Philadelphia. This stuff, this evil is here. The enemy is here. So spare me all the righteous indignation about what a kook George Santos is. You're going to kick somebody out of Congress? Kick out that woman who wants to compare raping young girls to Israel trying to defend itself from more terror again from Hamas.